Welcome to the Balanced Blueprints podcast, where we discuss optimal techniques for health and finances and then break it down to create an individualized and balanced plan. I'm your host, John Proper, here with my co-host, Justin Gaines.
You can't just focus on nutrition or just exercise. You need both of those to come to a healthy, balanced life.
Yeah, it's part of the whole holistic view, I guess. I've started to see exercise not as much as a weight loss tool or an aesthetics tool, which is huge benefits of it. I mean, you lose weight, your health, gets way better. And obviously there's a lot of great things with associating, looking better, like you feel better. There's maybe an ego part there as well. But I've started to associate working out with more just feeling better, being able to move better, a long-term health. I think one of the most important reasons for working out is muscle gain, and not in a sense of you look great, but in a sense of when you get older, the more muscle mass you have, the healthier and longer health span you're going to have. Hip fractures are a huge problem with mainly older individuals, especially women. So that's a topic for another day, like why you may have weaker bones. But if you are someone that has weaker bones and it's harder to recover from that, increasing your muscle mass is really what's just going to support those bones. So, if you have strong muscles, you're less likely to fall, less likely to get injured. And then those bones, even if they are weak, are less likely to break. And we know, once you go in the hospital for a hip fracture, a lot of stuff goes down south from there.
Right. Especially the older you get, the mobility becomes a major concern, which, we even see on the underwriting side of life insurance, when you start to see fractures and what would be minor health concerns that you would quickly recover from in your 20s and 30s and even 40s start to become larger concerns in your 50s and 60s and later, simply because your body doesn't recover as quickly. So
definitely. Yeah, and that's why I've started looking at exercise through a different lens, because so we'll talk about it in a sense of, I think the norm these days is exercise is this thing that, and I've done this for sure, it's sometimes a punishment, which is not a good way to go about it. But if you're trying to make up for either some poor eating or a poor day or something else, you're kind of putting yourself through some exercise there. And it sounds crazy, but I know that's what goes through a lot of people's minds. So it can be used as a punishment. It can be used as this, if you've played sports a lot, they use it as like a vetting system, where they put you through the ringer, you wake up super early, you do the crazy stuff. And it's like, I understand that to a degree too. You want to kind of vet your athletes, but at the same time, if you want the best athletes possible, you probably don't want to make sure, ruin their sleep, work them until they're dead. And there is a sense there of you're building, discipline, you're building grit, but I think the industry can take that too far too. And you see that with even the gym industry on Instagram or on TikTok. And I actually saw, I didn't even think about this till right now, but I saw the other day a kid on Instagram deadlifting. And the first shot was him saying, "Become an animal," and blood just dripping out his nose. And it was because he deadlifted so much with, I wouldn't say great form, that it caused a nosebleed. And I'm just thinking, like, that post has a lot of likes, and that's just not the image or the philosophy or the route we should be going for exercise. And I think it's getting blown up into this thing of a lot of people may have some mental things going on, some inner work, and exercise can be a great tool, but I think we're almost relying on that too much and going too hard there, where exercise should really just be a form to stay healthy in the long run.
Well, it's unfortunate too, because it's videos like that and it's that type of culture that deters a lot of individuals that want to go to the gym, work out on a much more, we'll say, calm level. But they don't want to go to the gym because they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to be around that. They don't want to have to see it. They don't want to feel, belittled because they're maybe lifting lower weights or not doing these crazy things and, making it seen, so to speak. But I think, bringing in the sports analogy is important, because ultimately, like when I go to the gym, and you're the same way, it's focused on functionality. And so because you're focused on functionality, you're not necessarily going to the highest weights. You're focused on maybe lower weights or the mobility elements, or making sure the range of motion is there, so that you can then make sure that you have the ability to do these things in real life. Essentially, you're going to the gym to train for real life scenarios versus going to the gym to train for some competition that either doesn't mean anything or doesn't even exist for a lot of people.
Right. Yeah. I can kind of explain through with my journey to go off what you said is, you're younger and you're playing sports, so your exercise mimics a lot of what you need in that sport. So, and I think I'm kind of getting back to that type of training, but you're doing things that prevent you from, if you're running quick or changing directions, you're doing things that prevent injuries there. A lot of knee stuff, hip stuff. And then you're also lifting weights, but not to a degree that a bodybuilder or power lifter lifts weights. You're lifting weights to be the strongest you can in your sport. But, there's not many sports where you want to be just one big hulk of muscle. So, it goes like that. Then a lot of people fall out of sports, which is fine after a certain period if you don't go on. But then a lot adopt either powerlifting or bodybuilding. And the cardio goes way down. You were doing that with sports because you need to make sure you're not getting out of breath super easy. So when you're done playing sports, the cardio goes down. And then we stop working on, maybe you're still doing some mobility, some stretching, and then that slowly decreases. Then you're really only lifting heavy. Then you look great, but you don't feel great. Joints hurt, injuries. Some people just kind of push through. And then I think a lot of people recycle. This is where I'm getting to my mid 20s, a lot more of like, all right, I'm going to start maybe, go back and practicing that more athletic training, because I still want to run. I still want to be able to do stuff. Like if you're going to play a pickup game with friends or your kids someday, you don't want to be running and then later that night be like, man, I can't do that for 6 more weeks. So like jumping, plyometrics, I haven't gotten there yet, but my mentality is switching back to that. I'm kind of in the phase now where I did some powerlifting, I did some bodybuilding, but really what's important to me is strength through range of motion. Like you were talking about, injuries happen when you get into a weird position that you've never trained in. So the way you counteract that is you go into those weird positions in your training, but in a very slow, safe, lightweight method. So that way, when your body goes into those weird positions in the real life, in the real world, your body isn't like, holy crap, we've never been here and I have no strength here, so my knee's just going to bend a weird way. And you'll see people on Instagram doing, knees forward, heads all the way back, weird positions, and it's showy. I think maybe those people get a lot of crap because they want to show that stuff to attract you to their page, but really what their philosophy is, they're not just taking newbies with that and telling them to do that. They are starting them with the basics of, okay, how's our ankle mobility? And then how can we strengthen our ankle mobility so the knees go farther over the toes and things of that nature. So that's a lot, important stuff that's getting missed these days too, is strength through different positions.
Right. I think one of the accounts that does it the best, I don't even know his name, but he ends all his videos with "Stay flexy."
Yeah. And he's like a blonde-haired kid.
Yeah, blonde-haired kid, very, very flexible, not super bulky, but like one of the most common start cuts to his video that he uses is he shows what would be for most people a rolled ankle.
Yeah.
And because he has the ankle mobility, he can put his ankle in that position and it doesn't cause an injury because it's not hyper extending any of the tendons or ligaments there. And so I feel like he does a really good job of, maybe doing that hook in the beginning, but then explaining what exercises to do to grow that and build that and how to put yourself in a position where if you do misstep on a curb, you're not going to be out of commission for a week and be in an air cast because your ankle, the size of Mars and you can't walk.
Yeah. No, he is a great account for that stuff. And if people know who he is, so you can picture him, I'll use him as an example too. I think he's even getting into more strength training and muscle mass because he's been very focused on that. And I don't think that's bad at all. That's what people need. Like that's a great starting point. Even if you were starting there, I would rather you start there than just pack on muscle and not have any mobility because you're going to get, much higher chance of being injured. But now he's, I think, going to put on some more muscle mass. I saw in one of his posts because I see them as equally important. Like we talked about, long-term muscle acts also as, an active system. Like it's not just on your body. having more muscle than fat, both of them send signals to your body. So if you have muscle that's burning up more calories, it's a lot more beneficial. And I'm just really trying to promote a society too, where it's okay to want to be strong, to want to be fit, and not to accept that we're overweight. We won't get too much into the mentality and the logistics around it, but I'm a believer of, if I'm getting overweight and my friend comes up to me and says, you're kind of packing on pounds, like this is coming from a place of concern, like what's going on? I'm not going to look at them and say, whoa, I feel offended. I want the people around me to be truthful, honest, and I want to make sure I'm the healthiest I can be. And having lean muscle mass, they've even shown studies on, like, the more lean muscle mass people have, the better predictors, better chance they beat disease, cancers. So it's not just this, thing that is great for show. It's very active, very beneficial. And, there's both sides of the coin there, where you should be able to move like him, nice and flexible. And you should also be very strong, because I don't see a problem. Men and female should be the strongest they can be. I think there's another guy who does it. He's like swole and flexy or something, if you've heard of that. No. But he's like jacked, looks like maybe a gladiator, but he's just as flexible, and his whole thing is like swole and flexy or something. And I'm just like, it's kind of cool. That's kind of the goal.
For sure.
And it's great to start with that sense of, start with the flexibility, start with getting comfortable in really bottom positions. Because, you'll go to the gym, and no hate thrown towards these people. It's more of a concern. You'll see people squatting real heavy, and I'm looking at them like, when is their knee or ankle going to buckle? And it's concerning, because there's a lot of ego lifting that happens because of the culture. Instead of lower the weight, get comfortable with the position. The other thing I really like about these people that are promoting flexibility, mobility, strength through range of motion is you really learn your body. So when you're going really slow, you're going into positions you might not realize, you're making that brain muscle connection. You're learning how your body moves, how it feels in different positions. Great, you did that. Now you go to the gym, you're squatting one day, and you kind of feel something you don't normally feel. Like, you have that consciousness, that connection to your muscles, where you can go, maybe today should be a little lighter. And then you just prevented an injury that took you out of the gym for 3 weeks. So there's a lot of benefit there too, of with working out. I know the goal is to gain as much muscle as you can, as fast as you can, be efficient, but there's a real benefit there of going slow. And this even transitions into, if we look at the longest living populations in the world, already I just thought of another episode. We're going to have to break down the blue zones, because there is some misinformation around there. I don't know what that man is thinking. I think his name's Dan something, but the man who's doing the blue zones research is missing some vital information. But some things he does have right. If we look at those populations, none of them are bodybuilders, insane gladiators. They are walking a ton. That, no doubt, they're definitely walking way more than 10,000 steps a day, because they live in those types of environments. They're gardening a lot, doing outside work, probably like farming work. They are doing things that are very active, challenging, lifting heavy things around the yard, but they're not going to a gym and just pumping the same weight up and down 100 times. So it's very functional, but it's very active as well.
Right. Well, and that's another point too. Like, we spent a lot of time talking about the gym, and growing up on a farm, like, it's hard for me now to get in the mindset of going to the gym, because growing up on a farm, you always made jokes and kind of looked down on the person that went to the gym, because you were like, you're clearly not doing enough in your regular day if you want to go to the gym. Like, growing up on a farm and doing all the work that you do on a farm, you're exhausted when the day's over. So you're definitely not going to the gym in the morning, because you have a whole schedule of work to do all day. And you're definitely not going to the gym after your day's done, because you just did a full body workout.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, a gym ultimately ends up being similar to like a vitamin, in a sense that it's what you should take supplementary to your daily life in order to focus on those individualized areas. And that's whether it's a home gym or going to the gym. But if you're walking around in your daily life, you're getting the exercise through your life through like your work environment or just what you do on a day-to-day basis, you may not need to go and do all of these things because, again, we're not saying that you need to lift a ton of heavy weight. We're saying that you need to be mobile, you need to be active. And as you talk about the blue zones, walking a ton, just having a bunch of very high rep, low weight exercises that you're doing will get you to that healthy spot. And so, like myself being in a very office-based setting, even though I go out on the road and stuff, I'm not super active. I have to be intentional about going for walks, doing these sorts of things. But if you take somebody who's in the agricultural industry and working on a farm, like they don't need to go to the gym and they're still going to be healthy. As far as an exercise component, there's the health elements too, but as far as exercise concerned.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, comparing it to a supplement. And with all of that, a ton of good points we'll go into is let's talk about the gym and the gym environment. As in not the people, but the machines, how it's done, the lights, the loud music, all of that. So I'll agree with you that our life and how society is set up now does not promote physical activity and long, healthy living. And for better or worse, we won't go into that. That's probably more of there's a lot of benefits and a lot of bad things about it. But we have a society where most of the jobs are office jobs, most are inactive. So yeah, the gym looks like this great, let me go and do everything in an hour because we're trying to be efficient with everything. But you look at jobs like farmers, other, very physical, active jobs. Those are great because I think you're getting a sense of cardio and you're lifting a bunch of heavy things. For serving nurses, I think those are also great because you're getting so many steps, you're staying healthy. And then we'll get into, though, the gym and exercise is just one part of health because unfortunately nurses have some of the worst health for so many other reasons. But, that's where someone might, if they're a server or something like that, you might want to incorporate, like Justin said, if you're doing a lot of low weight, high rep stuff, like, go home and do lunges outside, a ton of lunges, a ton of body weight squats. Like you don't need a gym for that. But some of those jobs, I still do want to stress the importance of the more muscle mass you have, or not more, but a good amount of muscle mass will be better. So that cuts your workout time in half, though, if you have a job that's so active like that. And then,
well, and ultimately you could do it. Like you don't have to go to the gym every day, or if you're doing a home workout, you don't even have to do that every day. Like you could pick 2 days out of the week that I'm going to do some body weight stuff, plyometrics and body weight exercise, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges. Trying to just go through.
Yeah, pull-ups, dips. Like if you could do all this body weight stuff, you're going to be better than probably 80% of the population still.
Right.
80 probably.
Right. And minus the pull-ups, basically need no equipment for that.
Right.
You can through it with a chair. You can do the dips. You can do all these things without any of these additional exercises or additional equipment, and so your cost to get in becomes very, very much so lower than if you're trying to do some of these other things that I'm going to have to spend $5,000 to get a powerlifting rack and weights and a bar and a bench and all.
Definitely don't start there.
Right, just do the body weight exercises.
Yeah. All right, so now, like I said before, we'll talk about the environment a little. And it's funny because a lot of people in this health space that I'm in that focus on, more of a holistic, good light environment, good food, good environment that you're living in. They know the gym is almost not really a healthy place. So it's a place that has terrible light environment. And we're going to do an episode on that, but very strong blue fluorescent lights. The music's not really going to harm you. It's just annoying in my opinion. But they have to blast it and keep it loud because otherwise you'd hear a lot of grunting or, those things. It's not a place that necessarily requires wireless headphones, but I would say it's one of the places that really uses wireless headphones because working out with a wire is the most annoying thing in the world. And you don't want to listen, like I just mentioned, to people grunting. So it is a place mixed with that and probably just the building itself, especially gyms in New York City. There's a lot of wireless signals, wireless radiation going around there between everyone's headphones on their head and the buildings. Usually people are going either mornings or nights before work, after work, and especially in the wintertime, we're jumping into a spot where, it's not supposed to be like, you should be in more of a natural light. It should either be dark still. You shouldn't be hitting your body with really bright blue light signals, kind of messing up your circadian rhythm. So with all that said, a lot of these people know that the gym is not really the healthiest spot in the world. I'm going to still go to it until I am able to do a home gym, because for me, working out, while it may not be necessary, like we just talked about, if someone is active, walks a lot, is intentional, does a lot of body weight things at home, a gym is not necessary. I'm more going to do it because I do enjoy lifting heavy. I don't know why. I'm still figuring that out, but like, I enjoy heavy squats. It feels more of a activity when I stop sports, of like, it's still something you're kind of just training for. So there's nothing wrong with it. I know we said a lot of things if you don't need it, but if you also enjoy it, there's nothing wrong with it. But I will definitely, my goal is to build a home garage gym at some point so I can work out with the type of music I want on my speakers, not on headphones, not under terrible light. I can open up the garage, let natural light in. So it's just funny because I guess the easiest way to sum all this up, because it may have been, kind of roundabout, is when I see people just to go to the gym to walk on the treadmill, I know that's actually more negative for their health than if they were to just go outside and walk. And I get it, it's cold out, but guess what? That cold's also going to help your health. So, and it's also going to help you lose more weight. So when I see people go to the gym and they're walking on a treadmill and it's kind of getting dark out and they're under super bright lights, and I'm just thinking, just please go walk outside, because that's actually going to help you lose weight better, keep you healthier, and it's a better environment than the gym. And this isn't talked about much because I understand going to the gym is better than doing no exercise at all. But there's also a lot of barriers there. You have to pay for a gym membership. You have to drive there. It's like, why aren't we just talking about go outside, walk outside your house, go for a walk?
Right.
It's very beneficial.
Right. And even as you mentioned that you're going to continue to go to a gym and do the heavy weights and all that sort of stuff, I think it's worth noting that for the past 9 months to a year, you've been doing high rep, low weight mobility training at the house.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were living with me for the entire year you were living with me, you didn't have a gym membership and you were doing everything with resistance bands and long walks and body weight training. I think you did have a bar here with
60 was the highest, I think.
60 was the most weight you had. I was going to say, you didn't have much weight there that you were playing with, and it was all focused on working on those smaller muscle groups than the larger muscle groups. Because even though you're going to a higher weight, because I think it's important to delineate here what you do when you do high weight stuff. You go to the highest weight that you can without any altercation of form.
Definitely.
So if there's any, if you feel your hip, your knee, your elbows, any portion of your body moving out of alignment ever so slightly, not even necessarily like visually, because there's been times that I've spotted you and you've lowered the weight because you were like, oh, I missed my form. And I was like, I didn't even notice that something moved, but you noticed it because you could feel it in your body. You can feel it better than your spotter watching you. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to note that, yes, you're talking high weights, but you're talking high weights with near perfect or perfect form. Yeah.
Very important differentiation. And it ties into the stuff we talked about earlier. The more you learn your body, the better. I did a lot of that stuff at home, resistance bands workout, because I was recovering from an injury. So I should say I wasn't just this person that woke up one day and realized, oh, I should do the tedious small muscle groups like you're saying, and then annoying, I was injured for a long time, and probably to a fault, I was like, I never want to be injured again, which probably unrealistic. I heard someone say, it changed my mindset, which I'm really grateful for. Someone said kind of the reason you work out is so you can deal with the injuries when they come up, not so you never get injured, because that's kind of inevitable. But point being is I did a lot of that stuff because I was injured, and it set me up for a very successful future now. And people don't realize, like we talk about, it's funny because you post something on Instagram. I don't even post most of those workouts because I just know the Instagram, the TikTok people, they're going to laugh at 60-pound bar, and they don't even realize how tedious and annoying you can make workouts with a 60-pound bar. Like, I'm talking everything we're talking here for the small muscle groups. It's always single leg, always single arm, always, it's you're doing things that most people can't even do like a single leg pistol squat. And now all of a sudden you're doing pistol squats with my 40-pound dumbbell. And it's just funny because a lot of these people don't realize, and I don't want to take anything away from them. I'm sure they're squatting like 315 pounds, easy, up, down, but then you get them to do a pistol squat and they can't even do it, So
Right.
It's definitely important to have both. And I guess all of this I'm saying is I hope someday, and I wish the culture online will change so we can get rid of that big ego lifting, because I think it will prevent a lot of injuries so people don't feel like they have to lift too much. And I think that's more of the way to promote, inclusiveness, to get people to go to the gym, because that's going to make people feel a lot more comfortable of like, hey, we're building up this community. Start low. We want you to be safe. And yeah, that guy over there is squatting a ridiculous amount, but like he's also very kind. And most people that are doing that are very kind. I think we're probably blowing it up too of, if you go to the gym, most people are going to be uplifting a nice community. Well, I think it's more of just what we're speaking to are the people that maybe aren't in that community yet and seeing things online. It can seem like a very strange community, but if you actually go to the gym, I think it's a lot more uplifting and helpful than it's promoted.
And it definitely depends on the gym that you go to as well.
Yeah.
Depending on what gym you go to, there's 100% different crowds at different gyms.
Yeah.
It's similar to like a restaurant. You wouldn't lump all restaurants in the same category because they all serve different food, and because they serve different food, different people go to those restaurants. But the people that go to the restaurants have one thing in common: they all like or are interested in that type of food.
Yeah.
And gyms are very much so the same way, that they might have all of the same equipment or nearly the same equipment, but there's very different communities and groups and attitudes at different gyms that you go to.
Yeah.
And that's within, the same postal code.
Yeah.
If you're within the same area, there are very different attitudes and perceptions at each gym. And that's just human nature. It is what it is. But I think what we're tackling more is the stereotypes and the stigmatisms around it that keep people away from the gym or not interested in working out at all because they don't want to be that person. They don't want to be associated with that group of people.
Yeah. Or you just feel insecure. I mean, I'm not even perfect myself. I'll go to the gym and I compare. It seems like the more you work out, probably the more you compare, the more body dysmorphia you may acquire. I know that's a popular topic, but I know I do that now and I'm fit, active. I know what I'm doing. So I can't even imagine, if you're a complete newbie and you're going to the gym, it's going to be very intimidating. I mean, just think about walking into a room with you have no idea what's going on. Just put yourself in that situation, and no matter where it is, you feel awkward.
Oh, 100%. I feel that way too. Even if I know my way around a gym, but if I haven't been going to the gym for a while and I go back, I still feel like that outsider, that person who doesn't know what they're doing, or, you start, your internal voice starts saying, oh, the people who've been here are going to know that I'm a newbie and know that I'm not working out. And
they have no idea. They're thinking about themselves.
Right. So let's sum it up, because we're getting towards the tail end here. Let's sum up as far as the overview of the basics of working out.
Yep.
I love the number 3 and just having 3 action points here. What are the 3 things, if you're looking to improve your physical health, what are the 3 things that you think you should be focused on or looking at?
Yep. We got 1, be active. You don't need to go anywhere fancy like a gym, 10,000 steps. 2, with that said, do some body work, body weight exercises outside. Muscle mass is still very important. Buy a pack of resistance bands off Amazon. Buy a 5-10 pound dumbbell. You're going to do it for very cheap. You could do it at home. 3, remember, it's a holistic thing. It's not just about the gym, just about exercise. It's about the food you eat, the light environment you live in. And also, if you can get outside while doing it, it's going to be much better.
Perfect. 3 very actionable things that we can do. And generally speaking, if we don't buy the resistance bands and do the weight, these are all things that we can do at zero cost.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
We hope this helps you on your balance freedom journey.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Until next time, stay balanced.